have possibly been.
Not dead yet.
Texas's domination of the Baltimore Orioles is where we start. It has the Rangers heading into the ALCS scary dangerous. It was a jam-packed joint last night. The team came out swinging as they always do. That offense just rolls. And then a raucous club scene in the clubhouse. What are they, black like that place? Look at that. It looks like a club. This is a franchise star for playoff success. They have 2 series wins in a row now. A team that gave away the division in the final weekend 2 weeks ago has all the momentum back. Bill Plaschke around the horn to you. What are the Rangers doing right now, and can they keep it up?
They're doing everything right, Tony, and yes, they can keep it up. They have 2 stud starting pitchers that can give you 7 innings. They have 5 all-star hitters. They have at the top of the order Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. Corey Seager's made for this. He was the MVP of the World Series 2020 with the Dodgers. They got it all. Plus, they have the best postseason manager in history. Bruce Bochy is now 15-5 in his last 20 postseason series. It's the best percentage of any manager in history. He knows how to work. The bullpen is shaky, but Boch can work the bullpen. I like these guys to go to the World Series.
Woody Page, what do you see from this Texas team?
Well, you know that, Bill, that the fans last night chanted, "We want Houston." Be careful what you chant for, because you're going to get Houston, and they're going to present a lot more problems than they've been there on a regular basis. But you're right. Corey Seager, just to mention him again, he actually played in the playoffs in that stadium the year of the pandemic when they played all the postseason games in the American League in the same place, and he got the same locker. You don't have to depend on all those guys, because you do have somebody deep in the bullpen that you can rely on in the 9th inning. But I believe that the Rangers are benefiting by that last game that they lost to the Mariners. I think that showed them that they had to turn that team around going into the playoffs. And guess what? They haven't lost a game.
They haven't.
So,
it's almost been a benefit to keep on playing and play through the wild card round rather than having the time off like we saw with Baltimore. Israel Gutierrez,
which is a problem.
Would you say Texas is the scariest team remaining in this postseason?
I mean, they're the scariest because they're the hottest team, but I think with this series, the key was game 1. Because if you're the Baltimore Orioles, you're waiting for game 1 at home. You got 101 wins, and you want to settle. You want to hold down that Texas Rangers offense, and you did. You kept him to 3 runs, but this is where Bruce Bochy came in. He managed an absolute gem, stole one from the Orioles, and then all of a sudden you feel like you took one at Camden Yards and you feel like the better team. And then from there, it was Seager and Garvey just sort of taking over there, and especially Seager with the 5 walks in that second game, and Garver, excuse me. And so, yeah, I think with the Rangers, you're doing exactly what you expected to do, but you needed that first win, and then it's just a bludgeoning of that team. But if you're the Orioles, you just can't have 2 starters go 1 2/3. I mean, whether you're playing a 5-game series, a 7-game series, have a lot of rest, you're probably going to lose if you have 2 of your 3 starters do that. So for the Rangers, after that first game, just that lineup just absolutely bludgeoning.
And Monica McNutt.
I would certainly say it's spooky season as it regards to the Texas Rangers. But listen, Seager's been great, but this is a team that has 5 all-star caliber hitters, right? Like, you heard Plaschke mention Bochy. I think that while we're giving them a ton of credit, they were like a game away from winning the division. So in many ways, they should be performing this well. And as much as I think the Orioles have a lot to be excited about, that still was a young team on the other side. So yeah, it's definitely spooky season, spooky hours, as they say, for the Rangers.
The Orioles weren't swept all season, and then they were swept here. Crazy. You can wonder if the playoff format with a week off hurt them, maybe. But the AL East was a complete no-show in total. AL East swept out of the playoffs. They had a lead for a half an inning over 7 games. They had a lead for just 15 pitches in this postseason. Crushing disappointment for all. But as Monica, you just said, Baltimore a bit different because they're way ahead of schedule because of the youth movement here. Israel, how would you describe this out for Baltimore?
Yeah, it's a disappointing ending, and here's why. I mean, obviously 101 wins, and you're feeling great about yourself, but you never actually had the moment in the playoffs, even if it's one game where you win and sort of remind yourself who you were. And that's somewhat disappointing there. But again, when you look at the youth on this team and what they're just beginning, they just won't look to the postseason. They'll look to the regular season. And just to sort of pound that fact that you mentioned on the Rangers and the AL East, those two teams combined for 200 wins. And the Rangers now the first team to sweep two teams combined for 200 wins in the same postseason. So the Rangers are doing it. The Orioles shouldn't really feel bad.
Woody
about
Page?
Oh, the Orioles got a taste of it, and I think their slogan should be, "It's not over. We're headed to Sarasota," because that's where they have spring training. They're going to start all over again, come back even stronger next year because
That makes
they have
quite a
this.
way
What
for
do you
that
mean?
joke.
What do you mean? That's a good slogan for the Orioles.
All right,
like it,
well,
Woody.
let's see. Yep,
They
you're getting the
have a-
cheese. Okay, there we go.
That division now is top heavy almost when you think about Tampa Bay and the Rays and the team they've got. Sure, they were knocked out also, but I think the Orioles and the Rays have gotten a lot of being in the postseason this year. And I think that next year, those other three teams that always think of themselves as the top of that heap in that division are going to have to worry about these guys for years to come with these young talented players they
Bill
have.
Plaschke.
Woody, I don't know how I've lasted 20 years listening to you sitting here. Unbelievable.
Whoa,
Anyway,
Bill. You got a laundry list of liners you used yourself.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, I love the Orioles. They got a great young team. That series was epitomized when Gunnar Henderson was thrown out on a botched hit and run in game one in the ninth inning. This is a young team. They're learning. They got three good starting pitchers. They got a good young lineup. They got a good manager. I like them down in the future.
Monica.
I mean, yeah, we all agree this is a young team with a very bright future. But one thing that I do think was kind of telling is their acknowledgement that they didn't come into the postseason with really good momentum, right? Like, yeah, youth is a little bit of an excuse, but I just don't like the way they flamed out. Like, it was nasty to me for a team that was so good and hadn't been swept, to Tony's point. And so I think, yes, they certainly learned from this experience. You got core guys that are under 25. Like, there's a lot to be excited about. But this is
The playoff format, Monica, you know as a player, time away, getting time off, yes, that could be good to rest, but losing all the energy of playing every day. In this sport, you play that more than any other sport. You think that hurt the team?
I do think it hurt the team, but I think even before the break, they weren't necessarily playing their best ball, right? Like, if they took that break and have been playing better, then maybe they have a little bit much of a chance to pick up that momentum.
You saw Texas go for starting pitching at the trade deadline. Baltimore didn't exactly do that, and that's where they were hurt in this series. We'll move on. WNBA Finals Game 2, let's go. Aces Liberty, Game 1 was a second half rip from Vegas. And while Breanna Stewart, Asia Wilson was the headline, understandably going in, just as much Gray and Young and Plum for the Aces. If you focus on New York and what it would take for them to even the series, how disjointed they were late Sunday, and this postseason run, Jonquel Jones, Benijah Laney, they've been there. Stewart a tick below her season numbers, which of course were MVP level, and Ionescu even less than that. So Monica, how will Game 2 be decided tonight?
It's got to be done on the defensive end, Tony. The New York Liberty, listen, offense was hard to come by because you were facing the team in the Aces with the #1 overall rated defensive efficiency. However, they have to commit on the defensive end themselves. Crazy number, Jonquel Jones has been one of the best defenders on Asia Wilson this season. She's held her to 6 of 24 when she's been her primary defender. She's got to be the catalyst, and then that team is going to have to focus and play team defense to slow the rest of those guards. If they don't defend, this thing is going to end quickly.
Israel Gutierrez?
Yeah, I think the Liberty might have got a little bit of fool's gold in the first half because they had Johannes hit all 4 of her threes in that half. And then in the second half, the Aces just kind of shut that down. And when you don't have Ionescu matching that, when you don't have Courtney Vandersloot finding her shot because she was open a few times and just turned down a shot, then, yeah, you're not going to match them, especially a team like the Aces that knows how to play together and knows how to shut it down defensively when it matters. And on the other side, Ionescu and Vandersloot, they really need to do something defensively because that efficiency from the Aces backcourt was way too much to overcome.
Woody Page, what decides tonight, Game 2?
It's going to be the Aces again. I think they have the better coach, and the description of Young and Plum sounds like this team. They are that good. Breanna Stewart, in order for the Liberty to win, I'm sorry, Bill. I am sorry. You shouldn't be on the program with me. Breanna Stewart's going to have to go all Kobe on the Aces.
And she
She's gonna have
hasn't
to have
this
45
postseason,
points
right?
and 12. Yeah, and I think that that's going to be the difference maker if indeed she can go off, be Michael Jordan-esque, if you will, then they have a chance to win. But otherwise, I just think the Aces are too strong up and down that lineup.
And Bill Plaschke.
Monica's right. It's all about defense. Vandersloot and Ionescu were burned. The Aces were 11 for 12 when they guarded them one-on-one. They need to play tougher defense. They need to go to Jonquel Jones more. And you need to get Laney more involved. There are 21-2 when Laney scores at least 14 points. She hasn't scored that in the first two games. The first game, she hasn't been involved as much. They need to be tougher, and they can win this game. They've beaten the Aces 3 out of 5 times this year.
Going into the series, yes, and now it's 3-3, and in the Liberty win, it's been an enormous rebounding margin that they've had, which was something maybe first half, but second half, nothing felt. Monica, you gave us the analysis. You have a pick for us.
I do think the Liberty are going to even this thing up coming back to Brooklyn. Look, this series is now 3-3 on the entire season. The series has just been really up and down.
It has been up and down, right? They haven't exactly had those moments with the close games and everything. It's been kind of one game. New York really controls the board. Jonquel Jones goes up. But we haven't seen it really from Stewart and Ionescu. We've seen it from Laney and Jonquel Jones. Make a pick, Israel Gutierrez. Who you got?
I still got the Aces. I think I trust the team that has a better defense.
And Woody Page, you've got the Aces. We heard that from you. And Bill Plaschke.
Liberty.
Liberty, Liberty, Liberty.
Liberty.
All right, Bill Plaschke, we can't wait any longer. Your column from last week, Dodgers will win it all.
Read it in league.
We have reached a point here where we're all worried about you, Bill. We are all here because we care about you. Oh, my goodness. This is brutal for LA. Not for a second in this series have they led. Not for more than a minute have they even been even. The overarching failure of years of 100-win teams going out in the DS is circling a toilet bowl that is made of rock bottom here. Game 3 in Arizona in a few hours. Plaschke, the floor is yours. What is this?
Tony, it's not over with yet. You act like it's over with.
I didn't say it was over. I'm saying, what is this?
I stand by my statement. The Dodgers will win the World Series. First off, they need to win 3 games in a row against Arizona. They did that in August. They did that against a bunch of teams right this year. They can win 3 games in a row. They win tonight against rookie Brandon Pfaadt, who has a 9.53 ERA against the Dodgers. They win a game 10-9 because Lance Lynn's not very good. And then they go to Thursday. Then they go to Thursday, and all the pressure is on the Diamondbacks because they don't want to come back to L.A.
Wait. They go to Thursday for Game 4. All the pressure's on Arizona. The pressure isn't on Clayton Kershaw, who is coming back to start Game 4. Wait, okay. I love your positivity.
He does not want his career to
I
end
love
this
your
way.
optimism.
He will win.
I
Then
say
it goes
again,
back to-
we'll get to there in a second. We're all here because we care about you, Bill. Woody Page, please tell me what you've seen in the series and what you've seen from this Dodgers team.
I'm selling Bill Plaschke, and I'm telling the Dodgers. We get so tired of you being over and over and over, Bill. You got Lance Lynn on the mound tonight. He's got the worst ERA of his entire career. And you think he's going to save your Dodgers? Betts and Freeman are 1 for 13 in this series. That's the problem for the Dodgers.
Israel.
It's not over.
I mean, it's not over because this is still a matchup of a team in the Dodgers who had 200-plus run differential and the Diamondbacks who had negative run differential. So anything's really possible here. And you mentioned Brandon Pfaadt. He's 0-2 with a 9-plus ERA this year against the Dodgers. But when your answer for why the Dodgers are playing poorly and Betts and Freeman are hitting so poorly is just, I don't know, then there's not a real whole lot of faith
Bill,
going on.
that's the
especially when you got
problem.
Clayton
You're
Kershaw
just
again.
leaning into optimism and positivity, which is how I live my life. I'm not going to knock that. But I need to hear something on why it's going to change. But first, we go to Monica.
I gotta say, Corbin Carroll looks like one of the best players in this series. And listen, this thing is going back to Arizona, and I hear you, Plaschke. The Dodgers fans are gonna show up, rah, rah, rah. But this still ultimately has to go back through Clayton Kershaw, who hasn't been historically great in the postseason.
All right.
I'm not feeling
Bill,
it.
now I turn myself back to you, and I say, please, just tell us why it could change.
Clayton Kershaw is not going to let his career end like this. He's too tough. He's too strong-willed. He will not have another game like that. And Mookie and Freddie are not going to be shut out like this. They're going to turn it on. They're the second-best offense in baseball this year. They were slow to come back from the long layoff. That long layoff is made them go cold. They've gotten awakened now. They've woken up. they will be fine. Mark my words. It's
Words
not
are
over
being
yet.
marked right now. They have been marked. They have been marked many, many, many times with the team that has hit
They
a
will win
wall
the
at this
series.
level. I'd love to see it for you, Bill. We'll move on. Buy or sell too.
Fans have that right. I give it to them. I just encourage them to donate more because that's what those teams are doing. I could promise you in Georgia, they bought some pretty good players. You're allowed to these days, and we could use some help. I encourage anybody that's disgruntled to pony up some more.
Kentucky coach Mark Stoops coming out today and saying his words were taken out of context. That was a longer interview there. From that soundbite, how did Stoops come off to you, Paige?
Well, I don't want to be taken out of context, but I think he's absolutely right that those people in Kentucky, including people like Bill Plaschke, who grew up there, need to cowboy up. I think those thoroughbred ranches throughout the state really need to kick in and get that behind that program, because otherwise, in that SEC, that everybody else is, quote, buying.
So you're all right with the coach? Even if he says it was taken out of context, he's literally saying we need more donations, right? Isn't that literally what he said, Israel Gutierrez?
You got to be a fundraiser.
Yeah, he was. And to be fair, the caller was from Louisville, and so the coach from Lexington seemed like he was getting needled a little bit, and so he answered back with a little bit of fire, though. But yeah, look, I think it's actually not a terrible idea. If this is their thing in Lexington, just start making it rain in the middle of the stadium when they start struggling. How glorious
Louisville
would that
football
be?
did collect
all that
money this week
give it
with
to
a
the
QR
program.
code, so you might be onto
Isn't
something.
that what he's asking for?
I just want to give some tips on context to Coach Stoops. If this was directed directly to that caller, you say, hey, caller from Louisville, you should pony up. But in general, we all know that this is the way that college athletics are being done. The collectives got to collect, baby.
And there it is. And Bill Plaschke, how about you?
Woody, I'm from Louisville. I will never, ever give a penny to Kentucky. Are you kidding me? I'm glad they're broke.
Hey, fool.
All he needs to do is walk down the hall to Calipari's office and say, John, some of your boosters give some of the money to us. But they won't. Kentucky's a basketball school. It's not a football school. Never will be. Stoops will never get that money. The NIL is going to be like that forever for him. And I'm glad the caller was from Louisville, because he was needling them. I'll needle them too. I'll never give them a penny, Woody, ever.
Everything all right, Bill? Woody, Bill? And you guys, you've been doing this for 21 years. I appreciate it, but
I'll give Kentucky some money to help.
it was your mutual destruction today when you guys went after each other. Israel Gutierrez, Monica McNutt. Showdown next. 3 seconds into your first preseason game with your new team, and then naming yourself Dylan the Villain. You okay with Dylan Brooks self-naming here, and will this work out in Houston? Israel, showdown to you.
I was actually watching this game to see Amen Thompson's debut, and I watched this play. This review took forever. This was referees making an example of a perfect subject in Dylan Brooks, saying, hey, no more of that stuff this regular season.
Monica McNutt.
I'm old enough to remember when Dylan Brooks was mad at the media for coining him the villain, so I guess I'm glad that he leaned in. More importantly, I don't see Ime Udoka, Jeff Green, Fred VanVleet going for these antics when it matters this season. I'm sure there's going to be a line in the sand.
I agree with you there. He was just so huge for Canada, the best defensive player at the World Cup. Just stay in that lane. We'll move on. USC at Notre Dame this weekend, and rain is in the forecast. So for practice today, USC brought out a hose to simulate the wet conditions. You look at that, what the hose is doing there, all right? Monica, is this a proper simulation?
Listen, I don't know if they measured how heavy the rain is forecasted to be against Notre Dame, but I think this is particularly raggedy, and they probably should get a younger manager out there to run around with that hose. I don't think this is effective.
Look, I understand that Los Angeles is not very familiar with rain most of the year, but that's not it. And they're clearly practicing on grass, which means there's sprinklers somewhere around there that they can just set off. Yeah. Why are we doing this way?
Complete foul on all levels. This is USC. They have the best film school in the country. You know, rain in a film set is the greatest thing ever. Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne rain. You know, that's what we should have seen. Monica McNutt.
A film school is no good. A film school is no good without actors. So I guess they're acting like this rain is. They're practicing. It's
yeah, right.
All right. To my FaceTime, Teresa Weatherspoon. new head coach of the Chicago Sky. She will add to the ranks of head coaches in the WNBA that were former players, and not just any former player, honey. A Hall of Famer, one of the OGs, a member of one of the charter organizations of the WNBA in the New York Liberty. Congratulations to Teaspoon. I had a chance to sit with her at a Liberty game recently, and we're all super excited about her future. I'm glad that she chose this step. Mind you, the last 2 coaches of the year in the W have been former players, so I'm excited about this growing trend. And of course, welcome.